Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Pablo?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. About yourself, bro?
No, it's all good, man. Hey,
Where?
man, thanks for joining us. I was
Of
just giving
course.
a brief kind of rundown of wholesaling, well, just to kill time. But all right, cool. Well, yeah, welcome, Christian. Just real quick again, just to kind of briefly, I know I ran that through this to you before, but this is a personal finance channel, right? And part of it is primary focus is primary, personal finance education. But part of this is, a lot of people are in different stages, right? Some people are already investing, people are trying to get out of debt, trying to pay bills. And part of it is I love the concept of side hustles, right? And I was telling the folks here that people are doing wholesaling as a full-time job and they're making a lot more money. When I see some of those closing checks, it makes me reconsider my whole career sometimes, but I know I don't have the business aspect down just yet, right? And as I'll touch on later, I'll touch on what I'm doing in this space. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And part of this, like I said, is I believe side hustles are supplementary to your primary job for most of us, right? And maybe they'll help you, save up for the next house or pay off debt quicker, right? So in the next few weeks, what I'll try to do is invite different people that are doing different kinds of side hustles, right? And I don't mean to say side hustles. I mean, a lot of them are doing this as a primary job, and they're making, like I said, a lot more money than a lot of us full timers. So don't get. I guess I don't want people to get confused. Like this is just a side hustle, maybe super passive, right? Because it does take a lot of work, right? So this week we'll do wholesaling. Next week I'll have someone else doing talking about drop shipping. But anyways, yeah, welcome, man. And just a little background. I met Christian while on my journey of doing wholesaling, right? And we came across each other. I got to meet him out there in Colorado and Denver, and yeah, definitely good person to meet. Yeah, welcome, man. I guess since we're in the topic of personal finance, what's your relationship with money growing up, man?
Yeah. So, first off, thank you for having me, Pablo. This is great. Like you said, we met through a wholesale Slack group. Pablo was in there trying to learn wholesaling. I was in there trying to provide value to people. A lot of people in that group were just asking different questions about wholesaling, trying to get through different aspects of the deal, whether it be finding the deal or sourcing the lead, finding financing, a buyer buying it themselves, or just kind of talking to somebody else that's in the game. So it was always good to give different value. And me and Pablo linked up on a couple different things. Don't let this guy get it twisted, guys. He's a data whiz. You know what I mean? If you need some data, reach out to Pablo. Trust me. But yeah. You asked me about how I got started into. Oh no, you asked me about money, right?
Yeah, just your
About
personal, like growing up, what was your relationship with money? And then we'll touch
yeah,
on like how you got into real estate in general. So yeah.
gotcha.
Mhm.
So my mom was a single parent growing up. So it was just me, my mom, and my brother for the most part. And we never really wanted for anything, but at the same time, she was always doing what she could on the back end. She liked to say robbing Peter to pay Paul. That was her main phrase growing up. You know what I mean? So whether it be getting a credit card to pay off another credit card, payday loans to pay off something else. You know what I mean? To extend things or to make things a little more lavish than they may have seemed. I know I just never wanted for anything. You know what I mean? As growing up as a kid, but that made me kind of realize as I got older, as she got more money, that I need to do different things with my life. But I was more focused on sports and things of that nature. So I didn't really get into like learning the value of a dollar until I was about 20, 21, 22, 23, living on my own, paying my own bills. And it was tough, man. You know what I mean? I started
Yeah.
to realize some of the things that my mom was doing just to make ends meet. And I kind of understood her own journey. And it made me realize I need to do better things and kind of take that torch that she carried along and pass it on to my family so I can continue to move forward and push things forward. But about 25, 26, I got real serious with money. Started looking into different things, started kind of learning more about investing and things of that nature. And around 27, 28, that's when I got into real estate, and that kind of changed my mind on a lot of things, and I kind of turned that up a little more. So it's cool to, learn as you grow. I'm a late bloomer. A lot of people try to catch it early, about 18, 20, 21, 22. I was going through life, you know what I mean? So your 30s, my 30s at least, will be a lot fresher than my 20s, because I had all those mistakes, already made those, got those out the way. So I'm excited about my 30s.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. You talk about late bloomers, all right? I don't think I shared this much, but in my early 20s, I cashed out on my 401k, right? For, a lot of it was like for sort of emergencies, but man, not understanding a lot of that money, right? Just the whole financial education, it's rough, and it'll cost you a few years, right? So I don't think there's ever such thing as starting too late into, to understand about money, but definitely it does help out. Especially I'm trying to get my niece, my nephews, everyone to start early, because that compound interest, So anyway, no,
I talk to
that's good
my
to hear.
I talk to my cousins about that all the time, because, like I said, I made my mistakes. Like, I messed up my credit. I filed for bankruptcy in my mid-20s, and I'm just now at 31. I'll be able to kind of look over that 7-year time frame and be like, okay, now I'm finally good. I can do some things without them looking at my credit and looking at it crazy. But at the same time, I try to tell people, because of those mistakes, like, take care of your credit, make sure things are a little more established, because you can play a bigger game at the end of the day. But we'll get into that later.
Gotcha. So you're in your mid-20s, 25 to 6, and how did you stumble upon real estate in general?
So at the time, I was working as a business development manager at a technology startup. And it was cool, because I was technically already in sales for about 7 to 8 years. I was doing door-to-door sales at 19, car sales in my early 20s, 21, 22. And then I started my own business around 23. So that I had already had like an understanding of like marketing, cold calling and stuff like that. But that actually gave me a deeper understanding of how to build a business. And that really primed me perfectly for real estate, because I started that job in August of 2019, and then I found real estate September 21st, 2019. It was like perfect, As soon as I found it, I found it via there's this girl on Twitter. Her name's Tara. She had this real estate. She had this actually website, more of a financial website. It was called For Stackers Only. She just launched it, and I just was checking it out, seeing what was going on. And within the actual website, she had a bunch of ways to make more money. So investing in stocks, crypto, mobile homes, and she had real estate, amongst some other things. I dove right into the real estate stuff, and then I clicked on this YouTube link that led me to the Flip Man, and then that whole
Yeah,
night,
I see his ads all over the place. Yeah,
dog, that whole night I was on the Flip Man, just studying, just watching. I was writing down my plan, and I just knew like this was it for me. You know what I mean? So I took that dive, and then next week I bought my first list. I was skip tracing, batch leads. I bought a list from this girl that was on Twitter. She was like pulling leads, and she pulled some leads for Will. I was like, all right, cool. If it worked for Will, it could probably work for me, because I saw Will flashing these checks. I saw different people flashing big checks on Twitter. I was just like, I gotta figure out what's going on with this. I gotta get a piece of that. So I got in September, pulled my first list, started making phone calls, loaded up my Podio, but I had no clue what to say to anybody. You know what I mean? As soon as I got on the phone, I was like, oh shit,
rough,
like what am I supposed to say to you? And then that's when it took me a while to kind of put together my own script, and then I finally bought Will's course in October of 2019, and actually that was November of 2019. That's when I bought his course, and I started getting into the Slack group. But also I bought his course for the strictly for the script, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't really get much out of his real course besides the script and the Slack group. But the script, it helped me actually put together some words, talk to people a little more. But I didn't get a deal. You know what I mean? Nothing really took for me. So I actually quit my job because I was so excited. I quit my job November 2019. I was killing it though. They wanted 45 appointments per quarter. I was actually doing 65 a month. You know what I mean? So I was
So
set up
you already
for a
had
minute,
that sales kind of background going on, right?
killing it.
And look,
So
real quick, for people that don't know what real estate wholesaling, could you explain it like maybe how you explain it to a 5-year-old, or just what is it and how do you actually make money, right? Because I think a lot of people are here to watch to understand what it is, and then just to get that understanding.
100%, man. So basically, what wholesale real estate is a one strategy of real estate of how to get into it and sell a house without you using any of your own money, basically, to purchase the property. So none of your credit, none of your cash. You don't have to do anything but find a deal, basically call somebody or find a house that you want to reach out to, call those people, and negotiate a price with them. Once you negotiate a price with them, get that price under contract, and then once you got that under contract, sell that contract to a buyer. Now you got to keep in mind, like, some of these words are very important. Never purchasing the property at any point in time. To say that, to market like that, that's illegal. That's how other wholesalers get caught up, and that's why there's all these legalities and pressures about wholesale real estate, just the overall strategy. But you're not selling the house. You're selling a contract for the house to a buyer, and that buyer goes to closing, and then you get paid the difference. So let's say, for example, you got a house that's worth 120,000 under contract for 80,000, and it needs like 20,000 in repairs. You probably sell that house for maybe 110. Once you sell it, you'll get the difference.
Exactly. So, and as a seller, what would motivate me to sell my house, right? Because right now, I mean, if I look at Zillow or any other ones, right, the on-market ones are so expensive, right? But so as a seller, right, I'm sitting on property that's probably worth a good bit, right? But maybe my house is distressed, is not taken care of, right? So what would motivate me as a seller to sell my house to a wholesaler?
So how I tell people this is more so about like there's a triangle, like a needs triangle. Some people need things fast. Some people like focus on price, and some people focus on convenience. As our job as wholesalers, we're supposed to help people understand that they can only have two of these. You can't have all three. So if it's speed and convenience that you're looking for, you're going to have to sacrifice price. So you're looking for people that are looking to sacrifice price for speed and convenience. So this could happen in various situations. The house could be in distress, like you were saying. These people could be in a foreclosure situation, meaning they need that money fast, or they need to sell the property, or it's going to be a stain on not only their credit, but long term, and you're not going to be able to buy a property again, or it's going to be a lot more difficult. These people could have been through a divorce. They could be going through a bankruptcy. They could be incarcerated. You know what I mean? There's all types of different reasons why they could possibly want to sell. Our job is just to reach out to them or make ourselves available if they want to sell. So we're one of their go-to options.
Gotcha. And for you, I guess while you were getting started, right, you mentioned you bought some courses, like just like me, I bought Will's course as well. That's how we ended up meeting. But you mentioned you bought it for the script, right?
Yeah.
What other challenges did you kind of face as you were going through? And on top of that, you were doing this by yourself, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't have a mentor, never had a mentor. I was just kind of figuring it out as I go. But realistically, some of my challenges were, one, trying to figure out what a deal was. That was my number one challenge, because I remember when I was marketing at the beginning, I would call people in different places. First place I kind of focused on Colorado Springs. And when I called these people, they would say, yeah, I'm interested in selling. So part of the script is calling them back, but I didn't get as much information as I needed to. But calling them back, analyzing the deal, I'm seeing a house worth $500,000, and I got to offer them $300,000.
So at that point,
like that's a daunting thing for anybody. It's like a line that you got to cross to feel comfortable with that, and trying to put out your offer. So I would say realizing what a deal is, crossing that line on like really making an offer, but also figuring out my best marketing strategy. Because at first I was using multiple SMS campaigns. I tried emailing people, you know what I mean? And I almost got a deal off of that, which was nuts. because I always thought if I could get one deal off of any of these various marketing strategies, it worked. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. So trying to recreate the wheel instead of kind of following the mold, because this shit works. Bottom line, you might see people's checks and things like that. You might think it's fake. Nah, it works. I really made 15,000 after my car broke down and I lost my keys and I was locked out of my apartment. That day I made 15,000 off of like 2 phone calls. You know what I mean? That month I made 30,000 off of $500 investment. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a real game at the end of the day. So if it's not working for you, you need to figure out what you're doing wrong and analyze your business and figure out that part. But yeah, after like the basics of it and figuring out what a deal is and all that stuff, next part was scaling. That was the hardest shit ever. It still is. Hiring people is nuts, man. Like, this is having a commission job or trying to hire people for a commission job, especially after the pandemic, is very difficult. People will come in, people will say you know, I work hard, or, you know, I put in the effort to get into the game, but they won't necessarily do that. You know what I mean? I probably hired about 25 people and I don't have anybody on my roster right now.
So at what point did you decide to scale, and like what did you actually do? For a lot of people, right? Just to give a little bit of context, a lot of this depending on your marketing strategy, right? A lot of people just want to cold call, right? So a lot of us have probably gotten, you know, call, you know, asking us if we want to sell a property, right? And other people would do direct mail, right? So they're literally sending mail, physical mail. Other people will just do voicemails. So where they will call you, but it doesn't actually ring, but you look at your phone and you have a missed voicemail, right? And it's very generic, right? And it's asking you to call them back. So a lot of people get it to a point where it's a little bit more automated, right? Or people do vended signs, right? The ones that you see in the traffic lights, right? So there's lots. Last time I hardly listened to the radio, but last time I was listening, and there was a wholesaler. It's a commercial on one of those. Yeah, and
you gotta get creative.
It's all over the place as you're going through Facebook, right? A lot, you know, might get ads, you know, sell as your house, etc. So they're getting more creative with their marketing, right? So it just, I guess, kind of going back, giving the listeners or the viewers an idea of what kind of avenues can you take with wholesaling to get that deal, right? How do you differentiate yourself from everyone else, right? Do you kind of just hit, you know, basically like cast the wide net, or do you focus more on specific people? Like you mentioned the scenarios with people that maybe are going through a rough time, like, yeah, I don't know, financially or whatever the case might be, right? Everybody focuses on something different, right? But anyway, so how, at that point, did you decide that you need to scale in? Like, what did you do?
To answer your in between question, I feel like you have to find your niche in this game. Like, to be honest with you, there's a lot to chew on, right? People think wholesaling is already so saturated because everybody's talking about it. There's a bunch of YouTube pages and stuff like that. But if you really think about it, there's a lot of deals that people don't want to deal with, right? There's deals with heirs. There's probate deals where people have passed away. There's trust deals and things of that nature. And those are more long-term deals, but those are super, super lucrative deals. So some people just focus on the deals that fall through the cracks, the ones that people don't want to deal with that take a little PI, you know, private investigating type of work to actually put together. But once you get to the closing table, you're getting not 20 grand, you're getting 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, you know, per deal. So you might
some of those are long term, right? Like years from now. And I've seen those.
You might only do 10 of those a year. You know what I mean? But if you're making 80 grand a spread, you're good. And that's what that's something I want people to really understand about real estate in general. Wholesaling is one way to get in, but once you get in and kind of understand the game, take it as far as you can with some of these niches. Like, some people are doing inspections, some people are doing insurance claims, some people are doing appraisals, some people are building other businesses on top of their wholesale business, because wholesaling, you learn so much about data, what a deal is, and then also the entire real estate process. So exactly. You start a title company, you know what I mean? You might want to go that route. You might be a loan officer, you know what I mean? there's a lot of different things that you can do within the real estate business. So wholesaling is a great way to get your foot in, but learn the whole business from disposition strategies to the entire scale of the operation. But yeah, when I figured out when I wanted to scale, I'm crazy, bro. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Like I told you, I quit my job like 2 months after figuring out wholesaling. I thought I was gonna, be the #1 wholesale guy. I was gonna get a deal in 30 days. Like Max Maxwell did a 30-day deal thing back in November 2019. I was juiced. I was like, oh, this is my time. The universe is talking to me. You know what I mean? I'm about to get my deal.
Stars
This is
are
it, baby.
aligned. Yeah.
This is it. Like, hey, thanks for the last check. Tech job. Thank you. I'm moving on to bigger and better things. So I got my first deal in April of 2020. And then right after that, I started putting together my actual system. Started learning how to do that, like put all my stuff on paper and things of that nature. And then I started trying to hire different people. I was looking for a disposition manager that didn't necessarily work. So instead, I wanted to take myself off of the phones because I like the phones. Like, that's cool. It's great, but it's tedious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very, very tiring to do day after day after day after day. So my goal was, I figured out that you need to create positions so you can fire yourself and hire somebody else.
Yep.
So I fired myself from the phones. So I found a cold caller and hired him for 2 months. He was doing well, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I slacked off a little bit because I let him take some of the reins. So I wasn't checking some of his calls and stuff like that. And he was on Fiverr, so he had like a whole company of people making the calls. So sometimes, like I would train him, and he would pass that information along to his different callers.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that information didn't trickle down, and the other callers weren't as valuable as he was. So I was getting leads. I was doing solid. I was doing my follow-up and stuff like that. I had deals on the table, but things kept falling apart for some reason. Like I had a couple deals in Cleveland. I had a deal in San Antonio. I was marketing like everywhere. You know what I mean? Anywhere that I could really think of, I was like, go there, go there, go there. Because like I've moved a lot. So my company is called Landmark Capital. So it's based off of like my mom. Whenever we moved, my mom was like, yo, find landmarks to different places because you're going to get lost. So that was like the name of my company. And I was like the idea. So anywhere that I pretty much lived, I was trying to like, do real estate in. So San Antonio, Omaha, Nebraska, Maryland, and Colorado.
And just quickly, it doesn't have to be like wholesaling doesn't have to be local to you. You could do virtual wholesaling in a different state, and there's different markets right here. Like you mentioned, like some people might think it's oversaturated, or the cost of the homes, etc., is much higher. But if you look into the middle of nowhere, America, or other places, right, there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more deals there. So just wanted to make a quick note about that.
That's a great point because there's people, like I said earlier, there's different strategies for all of this. So there's people that do different niches, and one of those niches are small cities, small towns. Some people will go like find a small town in Texas, find a small town in North Carolina, they'll take it over. You know what I mean? They'll buy all of the property in that area. They'll fix and flip a little bit. They'll rent out some, you know what I mean? And then they'll start doing some developing as well. Then they'll move on to the next town. That's baller. That's baller to me. You know what I mean? That's big. That's big pimping. So you got but stuff like that is very is lucrative at the end of the day. You know what I mean? What's his name? Mark Cuban just bought a city. You know what I mean? That's basically what you're doing if you go into a small town and build it up. You're building equity. It's the same.
Exactly. You're bringing up the value, the overall value, right? And
of a town.
Obviously a lot of his acquisition. The downsides of that is things like gentrification and kind of getting people out, and that's unfortunate.
Now you got to be careful about that. I'm not saying pushing people out. I'm saying great things so the people in the area can feel a little more comfortable and things of that nature. Because no, you're absolutely right. That's a great point. Gentrification is a very real thing, but at the same time, there's two sides to every coin. So it's not necessarily that you have to be a negative thing with their gentrification. If you can ingrate yourself into a community and help the community, you're playing a different ball game. You know what I mean? So good point. But yeah, we're talking about scaling. Yep. When I wanted to scale, I hired some VAs first, and that was probably the best route to go. But I wasn't as diligent on the VAs as I should have been. The to their calls and things of that nature. And I eventually started listening to the calls, and I realized they were very, they weren't even getting through saying the name of the company. So, and people would just be like, hello? Like, they're answering multiple times. They're talking to about 15 people within a call session. It's just like, oh, you're wasting leads, you know? So I fired them, and I ended up hiring my first person in office. He had already had some real estate experience, some wholesale experience, but he didn't get to the point where he closed the deal. So I hired him. I had an office in Westminster, Colorado. He was coming in office every day. We were doing training. He was doing cold calling and things of that nature. And we just built out the team from there. I hired probably 3 or 4 more people within that time frame. Some people made it, some people didn't. But I had 2 to 3 people consistently throughout the winter. They were doing well. We had a lot of deals locked up, but we had a lot of things fall apart. Some of our deals were overestimated. We were working in a place like Baltimore. Baltimore is difficult to find comps in because there's a lot of variance. Some of these houses are worth 200,000, but they need 100,000 worth of work. Or the comp down the street that was fixed up completely and it sold for 320, but this house is only worth 60K because it's, you know, a different size, or like in a different area. So some of those areas are more like boxy and like townhousey. So a house down the street might be like a full-fledged single-family house, ranch-style house, or something of that nature. The other house is like a townhouse with the same specs, but you can't tell. So it's like a row of townhouses. So if you're not in the area in Baltimore, like going checking out these properties with your eyes and seeing what's going on, it's gonna be very difficult for you to get comps at the same time, or working with like a realtor or something like that. Because I actually went out to Baltimore when I was working on the deal. We got the property for 60K. We were actually turned into a creative financing deal. Lady owned it free and clear, right? But she wanted 60K. She was like stuck on 60K. But her house was probably worth around 80, but realistically, it needed about 40,000 worth of work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We were like, cool, we'll carry the note. You know, we'll give you that 60K over time. We'll give you up front, and then we'll pay you out like 400 a month or something like that. Rent over there was like 600 to 800. Cool, that's cash flowing for somebody. But I went out there to check it out. I actually met a buyer who was working on property around there. He wanted to go over and look at it. He looked at it. He offered me 17K. I was like, cool, we in there. You know, take the 7. We'll give her 10. I'll take 7. You pay 400 a month. Boom, we good. He was like, no. He wanted no parts of that because he didn't think the house was worth 70K because of whatever reason. So that deal kind of fell apart. But we had a lot of things like that happen. Like we had a deal in Dallas owned by a slumlord. I had a JV partner that was going to work on the deal with me. We went to go check it out. It was in South Dallas. I didn't know Dallas at the time because like working virtually. So I don't know anything about these places. I'm like, yo, let's just go find a property. So we find one. And it's owned by a slumlord. And I know it was a slumlord because he went to go he checked the house out, and it was literally like falling in on itself.
Wow.
No, they didn't have any blinds. They had like curtains hung up. The bathroom was like it had no shower curtain. The water barely worked. Like kitchen was like on a tilt almost. And it was nuts, bro. It was nuts. There's rats everywhere. It was so dirty. It was absolutely crazy. And I told the landlord, and he was like, bro, I don't even care. You know, like somebody else is going to buy this house tomorrow. And he had tenants inside it. Nuts.
Wow.
Nuts.
That's
But yeah, we had all types of bullshit like that happen. And then we finally broke through. I got my guy's first deal in November 2020. And we actually got 3 deals that month. And my employee made $12,000. 15. He made 15 grand that month.
That's not bad. That's better than
Not bad.
most paychecks. Yep.
Not too bad. Not too bad. So yeah, man. That was cool. Like I actually cashed him out. I gave him cash, you know what I mean? And to give him that in that moment, it was great. He actually got on the Flip Man too, you know. He did a little interview and shit. It was cool, man.
Nice, man. So if I wanted to, I guess one of the things I want to do here as well is provide people with sort of like a blueprint, right? So if I was new to wholesaling, right, what what kind of advice would you give me to get started, right? And then kind of dealing with the challenges that you kind of face, right? Not understanding the areas, right? Not understanding that variance of pricing, right? Or how the actual house looks if you're not there physically, right? So kind of walk me through, yeah, as if I'm just getting started, right? And how can I, be successful with it?
Okay, so if I was just starting out or like looking in a new market, basically, the first thing that I would do or tell somebody to do is find a buyer. Very first thing. So whether it be on PropStream or Zillow, there's a free way to do it on Zillow. You can see who bought a house. There's also tax records that are accessible to anybody. That is very important, so you have to figure out one. That's the first thing I would tell somebody, actually. Figure out where you're getting your data from, whether it be PropStream, tax records, Zillow, doesn't matter. But figure out where you're getting your
Or
data.
this guy right here, I can get you some
Yeah,
data
or
if
Pablo.
you're in Texas.
Pablo.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out for you.
Yeah.
But also, and then the second thing I would say is find a buyer. Once you find a buyer, you'll understand what people are buying for in that area, or like, have an idea. Typically, what I like to ask buyers is like what LTV you're buying at, whether it be 70%, 75%. LTV is loan to value. It's a bank term. So it's basically how much the bank will loan you based off of the value of the property. So let's say that the total equity of the property is 100%. A bank might loan you 76% of that value of the property. So a buyer is going to buy at 76% of that value all in. That means it's repairs, closing costs, everything. So it's important to build that relationship with him, because you got to know, or him or her, you got to know what they're buying and how much they're buying for, what areas to stay out of, what zip codes to stay out of, and what kind of property they like to buy, whether it be a single family home, multi-family home, commercial, and the specs. Do you buy over 1,500 square feet? Do you buy one bedroom, one bathroom? You know what I mean? Things like that. They'll tell you. You just want to know.
Gotcha. So find yourself a buyer first, whoever's going to actually take that, the reassigning the contract, right? To. Mm-hmm.
So that would be number two. After figuring out where you're getting your data from, figuring out your buyer. Now you can find multiple buyers. That's not a problem at all. You want to build a relationship with all of them. But once you have that conversation, then you want to start pulling your data and like pulling a list. Now, if you're virtual, pull a list. But if you're actually there, I would suggest driving around, getting an understanding, because whether you grew up there or not, you want to get an understanding of like what's what and where is where. So like when you're looking at a list and you see 127 Main Street, where 127 Main Street is, the cross streets, things like that. Knowing the school district is super, super important. Me and Pablo have talked about this before. Knowing the school district is important because that's where some of the best homes are, where the best schools are. That's where people want to be. So those are where the competitive properties are. Those are where most of the retail value properties are going to sell at. So pay attention to that. Is very important when you're pulling your list. So if you're actually there, driving for dollars, so you can get familiar with your actual area. If you're not, pulling a list, just start calling, because honestly it doesn't matter. You can do all of the research and stuff like that, but as long as you know what zip codes to stay out of, just pull your list and start calling. Call, because really it's going to take you about 1,500 leads before you get comfortable, and that's going to cost you. And that's just what it takes to play the game. You know what I mean? It's going to cost you for your Podio, your CRM, whatever you're setting up. It's going to cost you for your auto dialer. It's going to either cost your time because you're calling 50 leads in in an hour, 2 hours, whatever, because you're hand dialing, or it's going to cost you money with the actual auto dialer, and it's going to be a lot faster. You can get through a lot more leads. So that's just up to you and your budget, to be honest with you. But either way, you're going to pay, So when you pay for a list of leads, make sure you get a healthy amount of leads. It's going to take you that first 1,500. You might as well chalk that up because you got to burn through those. And yeah, keep calling, man. Keep calling. Work on your confidence. Work on your tone. Always build leverage in these conversations. Find leverage. Ask the right questions. And then when you're talking to people, you're reframing with your leverage. So if they're telling you things about their life, listen to them. You know, actually listen to them and try to pay attention to what they're saying, because they're giving you little tidbits of leverage that you can reframe when you're dropping your offer. And that's just a little bit something.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's tons of there. If you look up online, there's a lot of call scripts, or especially on YouTube. So if you want to get any kind of examples, yeah.
If you want my script, you can buy it. Just let
There
me
you
know.
go. That's what's up. Cool. What else? What else do you want to cover in that sort of getting blueprint?
Getting started. Get ready, because it's gonna suck. Those first couple of calls, you're gonna get cussed out, especially if you're sending text messages. You're gonna get some wild shit. Oh, you're gonna get some wild shit, and just be prepared, man. Let it roll off your back, to be honest with you, because you gotta have a thick skin to play in this game when you're cold calling. You just gotta think about the seller's perspective. You're calling them out of the blue. You don't know what they're doing, what's going on in their lives. You know what I mean? So if they're a little frustrated, chalk that up to them getting some frustration out from the day. Don't take it personal. But I'll be honest with you, you know, I've taken it personal sometimes. You know what I mean? I've seen a few people out, you know, giving it back to them. So just be mindful that you do have people's information. This is data. This is very serious, sensitive stuff. So be careful, you know, how you talk to people, and your reputation.
Yeah, people feel very. They might feel like their privacy is being violated, right?
Yeah.
And also stay away from do not call list, because you can get sued. So that's another tip.
You can get into some trouble with this, and gurus will not tell you. You can definitely get into some trouble. Oh, with your contracts. That's something I want to say. After your data, after figuring out your buyers, and then pulling your list and calling, make sure your contracts are good. Make sure they are, because one, you want to encourage your seller to take that contract to an attorney so they feel comfortable. Because if you don't, when that question comes up, you say, or they ask, hey, I'm going to take this contract to a lawyer before I sign. You know, is that cool? You say no, it's going to look sketchy off top. So that's not something that you want to do. Always actually insinuate that they're going to take it to a lawyer. Encourage them to take it to a lawyer so they can feel a little more comfortable with that. But only do that if you feel like you're comfortable with your contract. Don't use the flip man's one-page contract. You know, get a real contract. There's all types of lawyers that do this stuff. Title companies do this stuff. They will send you a contract. You know what I mean? Talk to the title companies too. That's really, really important, especially if you're in market. Go shake a hand. Go meet people. Introduce yourself. If you're out of market, just call. Say, hey, my name's Christian from Landmark Capital. We're doing business here in Memphis. I want you guys to, you know, close assignment contracts. Do you guys do assignment contracts? Do you guys do double closes? Things of that nature. Figure out what they're comfortable with doing, and make sure you introduce yourself to the closing agents. Things of that nature, so they know who you are. And when your deal comes through, they'll remember that. It's very, very important. And don't cuss those ladies out ever. Don't give them no attitude, because they will slow your shit down, and you won't get your money.
That's funny. Yeah, you mentioned a good point. Make sure you know a list of title companies that actually do work with wholesalers, because some of them, not all of them, work with wholesalers. So, yeah. And you can find a lot of this information, like maybe join some of the wholesale groups within Facebook and just maybe ask about, especially your local market. That's another thing that I would advise as well.
That was another thing I was going to suggest. Find a community, whether it be digital or local. You can do local REIAs. Those are great. They welcome everybody. You can we're actually doing deals, big deals, small deals, doesn't matter. And you can talk to those people, rub shoulders, and figure out what's going on. You might find a good partner later on. You might find a buyer later on, or you might find someone that you really connect with. Or find a digital community. Like Pablo said, Facebook is great. All types of Facebook groups that will help you sell your deal. You can find deals if you want to buy a deal on there. That's perfect. You know, Facebook groups, they share a lot of information, or a Slack group, or low key Twitter is great. You can find somebody that you can kind of latch on to that they will push information. Instagram's great for that too. Pablo's right now is pushing out a good amount of information. But there's a bunch of upcoming wholesalers who love putting out content, and they're just talking about wholesale. So if you follow them on Instagram, follow them on YouTube, watch their journey, figure out different things from them, that's very important too.
Yep. Alrighty. Anything else, man, on that front?
Um, I think that's it. I think we covered it. That's a good, what, 5 or 6?
Yeah. And yeah, just get started. I mean, there's a lot. I went for a while learning, trying to put everything together. I think the chart that I showed, it took me a while just to get my head around it. But like Christian mentioned, just it's all about take action, right? Like I always say, education without action, it's really meaningless, right? So as you're learning, call, right? Don't take things personal, but just take action and move on with it. A lot of times you'll learn on the way and maybe find yourself a good mentor, like someone like Christian, right? So, yeah, so I,
Valley, a good question. Do you guys have a nationwide title company? There actually is not a nationwide title company because there are different states that have different rules. Like for example, New Jersey is a not a title company state; it's a title attorney state. So you're actually reaching out to a title attorney and working with them directly. Unlike somewhere like Memphis, where it's title attorney and title.
Gotcha. Let me another question by Shoaib here. Uh, what would stop a seller to just say, "Hey, never mind. I'll rather just go to the final party and sell it for more."
Um, it can happen, but there's only one way that you can stop it from happening. Is called a moratorium. Title companies have it after you send in your assignment contract and your purchase and sale agreement to the title company. All you have to do is ask them for a moratorium, and they'll
Mhm.
send it over to you. And all you have to do is fill it out, and then at that time, the title is frozen, and it can't be revealed for any other deal. So it can't another deal can't be closed at any point in time. So they have to go through. So let's say, for example, they want to just go directly through the buyer. Cool, pay me out 10 grand and
Exactly.
moratorium, and we can move on.
Moratorium. All right, gotcha. So make sure you add that as part of your contract there.
And all you gotta do is Google that.
Okay. All right. I guess we're getting kind of close to the end here, but I wanted to ask you just like maybe 3 more questions. Um, so one more question here. It looks like, how do you handle when a seller asks you if you're a wholesaler? Tell them no.
There's a couple ways. I'm gonna be honest with you. You could be honest. You could just be honest, and that's probably the best policy. Let them know, like, hey, yeah, I do work for a real estate investment company. We do have a couple different strategies. We may end up assigning this deal to an end buyer. There's nothing wrong with that. There's actually paperwork in some of my contracts that say, hey, we are assigning this deal, or this is an assignable contract, or there could be an end buyer, or we might list this deal. But you just got to communicate with the seller. If you have a good rapport with them and they trust you and they don't feel like you're doing anything shicey to them, you'll be fine.
Cool. Hey, Christian, tell me a little bit about what's your best wholesale deal so far up to date?
Oh, man. Uh, okay. So my best wholesale deal, it really wasn't a wholesale deal. It was more so of a deal that um what people call a novation deal. I worked with
Mm-hmm.
a realtor on it, but I still don't know what novation is. I don't think it's necessary to do it
I've
like
heard
that
it.
at all. But yeah, I worked with a realtor. I got this deal under contract in April. The property is worth $235,000. I got it under contract for 190. I initially asked the seller for 170. She said no, and she pushed it up to 190. I thought 190 was too high for a cash deal, so I initially thought, okay, cool, let's just try to list it. Um, so I got it under contract, but she had a tenant, so we couldn't really do anything until June. So I got with a realtor who was a friend. I got with him, let him know, like, hey, I'm ready to make a move on a property. I think I need your help on this. Sat down with him, let him know the play. I told him I got it for 190. Probably list it for like 235, and maybe be cool. He was like, cool. We'll probably list it for like 225. I was like, cool. I sent them over a finder's fee agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, agency, whatever it is for realtors. Um, they said that they need to put it in the actual listing agreement. So I was like, cool, no problem. He sent the listing agreement over to the seller. Seller signed it. Cool, no issues. But I made sure I needed my stipulations met. He was like, cool, I got you, no problem. Cool. It's a friend, It's all good. No worries. We're about to make this money. To be honest with you, I wasn't too concerned with this deal because I had like 2 other deals that I was working and
Yeah.
needed like a little more of my focus. And I didn't think this deal was gonna happen anyway. You know what I mean? So I was just like, whatever with it. Ended up getting the house cleaned up, got the tenants out, got it listed for 225. First offer came in 235. Okay, cool,
That's
cool. Next offer came in 250. Oh,
yeah.
now we talking. But 250 fell through. Then an offer came through for 270.
Wow. Almost as
Pending an appraisal. And I was like, oh, the appraisal's gonna say it's worth 235 anyway. No worries, it's all good. It's cool. So realtor friend calls me like a week later. It appraises for 270. And we're just like, what? Oh shit. Going crazy. Mind you, I got it under contract for 190.
one night. Wow, that's almost wow.
So
That's insane, man.
within the deal spread, we got 80K. I gotta pay a little bit of the cleanup fees. I gotta pay the inspection fee, and I gotta after the appraisal, they wanted a little more cleanup, so I had to pay that as well. Then I had to pay the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. So I was like, cool, minus all that, I'm looking at a good 45, 55K. Cool, sound good to me. Closing day comes. We're about like a week away from closing, and I'm calling the title company, make sure they got my my wire information. You know what I mean? I'm lining everything up, thinking about what I'm about to do, my next moves and stuff like that. What I'm gonna invest in, all these cool things. And then I call my realtor guy, and just to make sure everything was cool. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like this is like a 45K spread for me. He was like, 45K. The contract says you're only making 13. I was like, what? So I hung up on him. I looked at my contract, and it said Landmark Capital is only supposed to make 13.9.
Wow.
And I was just like, damn. So I had to call the seller. I called the seller, and I was like, hey, we agreed on 190. You're getting more than you're supposed to be getting. In our original agreement, we were supposed to split this. You're supposed to get what you're supposed to get. I was supposed to pay stuff out of pocket, out of my profit. And she was just like, no, I'm not moving, not budging. My house is worth 235K. After everything, I'm getting 235K. So that's what I'm walking away with. And I was just like, damn. So I talked to my realtor friend, and he didn't want to do anything to help me. And I was just like, bro, I put like 9 extra grand in your pocket on this deal. Like I didn't have to bring you this deal at all. You know what I mean? And he didn't budge. The seller and my realtor friend ended up being like really close after that for some reason. And yeah, that's how it played out. I walked away with 13.995. It hurt.
Yeah. What's your biggest wholesale fee that you had before?
30K.
30K. Oh, it's not bad. Not bad at all. I noticed people are moving now to multifamily home units. Is that a trend that you're seeing now as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, but I only say unfortunately because like I saw it coming. Me and one of my friends were trying to move on it pretty quickly, but it's becoming a thing now, and people are looking at multifamily pretty heavy. And I understand why, but personally, apartments, I hate all like multi-dwelling units. You know what I mean? Like, in them, but I get the idea. It's very lucrative. Multiple doors in one purchase. But at the same time, like I don't personally like living in them. But the investment side of it is super, super lucrative. It just makes sense. But it's a different game. At that point, you gotta understand cap rate, occupancy rate. You know what I mean? Net operating income, things like that. It's a little different.
Yeah, if you're just getting started, I mean, probably single family homes are better first, then multi, and then you can even do, I mean, bigger, way bigger deals like, hundreds of thousands or millions. So it's there's a long, list of options there. But all right, man. All right, well, let's wrap this up, man. I just want to ask you 2 more questions, unrelated to this, but what's your money motto or mantra?
Honestly, I believe in abundance. to be honest with you.
Yes.
That's one of my biggest things. So like attracting abundance and being around abundance and trying to think abundantly, that's one of the most important things to me. So I just try to remind myself, like, not only is money abundant, opportunity is abundant, my creativity is abundant, and anything that I want to do, is abundant. So I just need to stay focused on that, and my way will be paid, to be honest with you. And things have worked well for me in that aspect. So I can't really say that it didn't work or it did not work, but certain things work for different people. But for me personally, it's just abundance, man. Like that's my number one thing.
No, I see that. And, we talked about oversaturation or things like that. Even if you and the person in front of you are doing the same business, like there's enough. I picture life as a pie, money as a pie. Everybody gets their piece, and, you don't have to see anyone as competition or whatever, right? Just do your thing and be ethical about it, right? And you're gonna be successful. You're gonna make money, right? And those people are gonna make money. So there is an overabundance of resources here, right? So finally, man, where can we follow you, man? Like, this is the time to promote yourself. If you got Instagram, YouTube, anything.
So right now, my main thing is on Instagram, See the Mogul. I'm actually on same as See the Mogul. I got a lot of things coming. I got a big announcement dropping next week about a new venture that me and my friend have been working on. I'm excited about that, and also I got a couple more companies launching later this year, probably around May, and third quarter for the other one. So I'm excited about it. Stay tuned, follow me, check out my stories. I always drop different things on there, and just stay tuned.
Awesome, man. Yeah, man. Thanks for your time, man. We have like 5 minutes till the hour. So are you cool with if we do a little bit Q&A? If people are...
Let's see what we got here.
All right. What do y'all got?
You got any questions?
Yeah, don't. And again, like I said, I'll be doing a lot more. I'm going to try to do weekly side hustle series, right? Not necessarily specifically on wholesale, but we can always bring you back. But I want to make sure that, we have a lot of opportunities to touch on different topics, right? And like I said, there's money to be made in wholesale. You just got to commit to it and call, right?
Oh,
and, yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Don't be afraid of getting yelled at.
Right. Oh, Pablo, let me ask you this, bro. What inspired you to really get serious with your content?
With the content?
Yeah.
Well, a few things, right? Like for me, I'm trying to my whole sort of end goal here is to be work optional, like in 10 years or maybe less, right? But part of it is I have my full-time job, right? I like to say I get paid pretty well, but on top of that, I want to accelerate my retirement, right? And right now I'm taking care of my parents. So I got an Airbnb doing cash flow and all the money's going for my parents, right? I'm doing a secondary one and I'm expanding for me, right? But my parents are taken care of. So that was the biggest inspiration, getting my people, like my family, direct family, and now friends, and now everyone else. So that's a big motivation, right? To keep posting content. And a part of it is like, hey, grow your network. Like you mentioned before, right? Even your network, right, is your net worth, as cliche as that sounds, right? So the more people I attract, like yourself, right, the more ideas I get and the more I can grow this community. But that's the biggest inspiration, man, getting people out of debt, building that generational wealth, right? So it's an amazing feeling if you can take care not only of your kids, but even of your grandchildren down the line, right? And man, it all starts with personal, finance and literacy, right? So that's my biggest kind of inspiration or biggest push here. Yeah.
Bro, I love it, man. I love it. I think on the head, bro, because I feel the exact way, man. And that's why, we connect and we got a lot to work on, So I'm excited on moving forward with you, bro. I appreciate you having me on this for real. And
no, appreciate you coming in, man. Yeah. Thank you for your time, man. And like I said, if you're trying to learn about wholesaling, reach out to Christian, right? I see the mogul. And if you're
do a little mentoring, let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. I'd be happy to help anybody that jumps my DMs. Like I said, I do have a script available. If you need any help, we do one-on-ones, anything like that, for sure.
Yep. And if you need any data, if you're based out of Texas, reach out to me and I can provide you with that as well. So All right. Well, yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for being my guest, Christian, and really appreciate that, man. And I hope everyone got some value out of it. Replay this clip and take some notes and just take action, right? Because otherwise, you know, what are you doing after work, right? All
Exactly.
right, man. Have a good night. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Be easy, bro.
There you go. See ya.